Spoken Labour.
I went to sleep that night without knowing it would be the last night I ever spent in that bed at my parents' house in London. Meredith, my mum shook me awake. The room was dark, making it obvious it wasn't morning yet, or not time to get up for school anyway. "Mum," I mumbled in my half-asleep state, "it's time to go. Everything I told you about those stories is true. It's time for you to leave us so you can train to be a protector. Your dad and I, we've done everything we possibly can to prepare you."
First Charge is the first book in the Destiny Initiative series by Amanda Steele. The book can be purchased in paperback from Amazon. The e-book can also be purchased on Kindle, Kobo, Apple Books and many others. Spoken Labour.
Have you ever thought about what Santa Claus would be like as a zombie? Or maybe you've wondered how he would cope with climate change, Brexit, or any number of issues facing the UK and beyond. Probably not, but if you're now wondering, you can buy The 12 Deaths of Father Christmas by Amanda Steele. It's a collection of flash fiction stories with accompanying images in which Santa dies in different ways. There's a political slant to many of the pieces and added sarcasm. This is not for children.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho.
Spoken. Thank you today for tuning in to Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up at the beginning of 2016 and as of recording has over 200 sessions in our archive. Although the podcast can be heard on Anchor, iTunes, Apple, Spotify, YouTube and literally 10 or 11 other networks, the full archive can be found at Spoken Label, all one word, spokenlabel.bandcamp.com. On Bandcamp, it is set as pay what you want, so you are entitled, if you wish, you can download it or stream it for nothing. But if you want to throw me a couple of pennies my way, it is always eternally grateful to help me maintain the operating costs and future running costs of this podcast. Enjoy. Spoken Label. Hi guys, and again, Spoken Label back in the house on Zoom again today. Staying reasonably local today. I've got a young gentleman with me at the moment who's from the Todmington area, who I was telling you before, last time I went down to Todmington, I had a pig job getting back when the river overflowed and ruined the train line, but that's a story for another day. So this young gentleman, I met him fairly recently at Speakeasy when he arguably stole the show. And it's kind of rare when we do these sort of nights, but obviously we do everyone goes to our Speakeasy nights. No, it's a well-received and supportive night. When I started, me and Steve and Amanda run it, get 15 or 16 people not complaining, saying how much they enjoyed someone's performance. It's natural. He's on Spoken Label as well. So Isaac, you want to introduce yourself to everybody, mate? Tell them who you are.
Hello. Yeah, no, thank you ever so much for having me. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I'm Isaac Hughes-Dennis. I'm a political comedy, folk, punk singer and questionable poet, amongst other things. Sort of gigging for the last 4 or 5 years around the Northwest. So it's an absolute pleasure to be invited here. Like I say, I incredibly enjoyed my first experience on Speakeasy, and I shall return as well, depending on whether this is broadcast before or after. I've either very much enjoyed my second set at Speakeasy, or I'm incredibly looking forward to it. We shall see.
I've not even looked at my diary yet for release dates for this yet, but wait and see, everybody. So. Right, Isaac, you were telling me before, obviously, you're not originally from Todmington, are you? So you'll tell people where you're originally from and what led to your Todmington.
I was born in Newcastle upon Tyne, although the accent says differently. I was originally born Newcastle upon Tyne, spent a very small amount of time there, and then sort of in early childhood I moved around a bit. We got a converted horse box and moved to Scotland. Went down to Wales for a little bit, but for the majority of my life I've been in and around the Calder Valley in West Yorkshire, along the Pennines and the Calder River. So I'm currently in sunny Todmorden, home of white rasters and flooding. Yeah.
Oh, it's not James, and that's what I like to hear. So, okay. What everyone wants to know, obviously, is what led you down your creative path? And were you writing when you were fairly young, or has it just come more recent times?
I mean, I've always had an obsession with music, and in particular folk music. I sort of grew up a lot of political folk music, which is, I'd say, is where the majority of the inspiration for my stuff comes. So I've been musical, and music's played a large part in my life for a long time. And a lot of the people that I've grown up listening to and have sort of shaped what I do now, sort of friends and comrades that I've shared a stage with a fair few times. So we're talking about the likes of Rob Johnson or Attila the Stockbroker, who have just been massive inspirations to me, and now are appreciators of my work, which is incredibly incredibly humbling to see that sort of coming around. It's a little surreal. A lot of ranty folk and poetry as well. I've been a large admirer of Benjamin Zephaniah, like I say, Attila, and John Cooper Clarke, and the classic punks of poetry as well. I think it's that politically charged momentum that's sort of shaped what I do as well. I've been around politics and radical politics for again a large amount of my life as well. So I think a lot of those aspects of things have very much shaped the sort of stuff that I do as well, and just good old fashioned sarcasm and piss taking as well, I think are very much driving forces in my work. So
I can believe you in that. Now, obviously, what's unusual about you is this is I've seen examples like this, not necessarily in the way you do it. That's why I admire you for it. Is you're, I think, a hybrid in some ways, aren't you? Or you do spoken word or like your political satire over acoustic backing. Now, was that always the plan, or have you ever done straight poetry sets or even straight folk gigs even?
I mean, it was never the plan, and like you say, my stuff's very much a hybrid of different things, which makes it an absolute bugger to get gigs or to be signed in any context, because I think different people have different opinions of what I do. Before COVID hit, I was doing support sets with the comic John Richardson, who's been on 8 out of 10 Cats, and I think Nevermind the Buzzcocks and various things like this. And so when I did the same sets with as a support for him, it would very much be viewed as comedy. When I do things like Speakeasy, or for support sets for Attila the Stockbroker, that's very much seen as spoken word. It's a bit of a mishmash of thing, but it's just the way it's sort of fallen into place, really. There was no set plan of this is what I'm aspiring to do. It's the only thing I can do, so I've stuck with it. Really, I occasionally dabble in purely spoken word or purely folk, but I think that's usually at absurd open mic nights where there's 5 people watching and 10 people performing, and so not many people get to see that side of me. It's very much a haphazard, ramshackle display of what I do, really.
When did you start learning to play your instruments? Was that when you were much younger then, was it? Or was it again come later on that?
Indeed, yeah, that was much younger. Like I said before, I think music's been a large part of what I do, and without sounding too poncy, who I am as well for a long time. My dad was a musician, still is a working musician, and so I think that's where the music side of it's come from. I started learning ukulele age 3 or something stupid like that.
Wow.
And unfortunately it's the only thing that I take gigging with me these days. It's sort of stuck with me. It's very much a children's instrument, but it works for me. I'm just grateful that I don't play a double bass or something, because it means that I can travel on train.
God, yeah. Or be that sort of musician that carries on 2-3 guitars with him before you're done.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always baffled me. You see folk, because I do a lot of stuff around the folk scene as well. You get folk musicians with harmonicas, tiny little 3-4 inch instruments, and they'll have a whole bloody flight case of them in all different keys. And you're thinking that's not the point of harmonica. I mean, 20 of them that you have to carry around on your back.
Wow.
Yes, I'm glad I don't have that element to.
Oh yeah, completely. Now, where have you travelled then for your folk gigs and stuff? You've gone all over the Northwest, haven't you? So.
Yeah, and occasionally elsewhere, but predominantly in the Northwest. I'm very lucky that Calderdale and the Calder Valley have an incredibly large and supportive music scene, which has really helped me get going. Obviously, we've got venues like the Trades Club in Hebden Bridge and the Golden Lion in Todmorden, which is sort of arguably legendary venues that everyone's played in. Have been sort of my starting off venues, which has been and then sort of worked backwards, questionably, from there. But all around the Northwest, gigging in Manchester, gigging in Leeds, gigging in Bradford. It's it's been an absolute privilege. Sort of on and off for about 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm incredibly lucky.
How's COVID impacted you over these past 6 months then? So
it's been interesting, because what I do is very much politically motivated, the pieces that I write, and so I've just sort of been so very baffled by the sheer ineptness of politics, that it's either been incredibly easy to write things, or on the flip side just so difficult, because there's nothing that a satirist can say about the current situation that isn't already being said on Newsnight every night. It's been a bit of a blow, and obviously what I do is very much crowd orientated. I'm very much accustomed to small sweaty rooms and hecklers, and that's sort of all been taken away. I've found that virtual heckling isn't quite as effective. Unfortunately, I've learned that the hard way. But just being accustomed to the online setting, it worries me for the long term, in terms of the implications on the music industry, and the sheer lack of support for artists, for independent venues and freelance artists. It's quite scary, and so there's almost been a risk of sounding poncy. I felt a slight personal responsibility as a self-proclaimed political satirist to make light of these situations and to take the piss. But I think that's been increasingly difficult when we are really quite living in somewhat of an apocalypse. It's been up and down. I'm currently working on an EP, a lockdown EP of all the pieces I've written across the Corona period. So hopefully that will be out, all being well, by the end of the year.
Fingers crossed, mate. So it does. It's very. I know what you mean from the poetry side of things. That's like, I used to go to the regular 4 or 5 venues a month. To me and Amanda did, and it's. I don't mind doing Zoom stuff, but it's not the same as it at all, really. So
no, not at all.
Yeah, it's something to keep us active. I think if you don't do it, you're going to stop. because I don't know if you know any musicians or people, creative people. I know quite a few that have stopped writing altogether for the past 6 months, and I don't think they're going to come back to it because there's nothing. They can't find anything to write.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know. I'm digging deep because I'm not giving up on it. It's taking me longer, but it's supposed to be like I said. It's just what it is, basically. So I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, another point on talking about this and talking about music is: did you read the report going on the other day? And this is not bad mouthing to mind that game. That Harry Styles ex One Directions apparently pumped a load of money into a new massive venue getting opened up in central Manchester in a couple of years' time.
I see. Right.
Pumped in them. They want to make it bigger in the actual MEN Arena, apparently. And it's just crazy, isn't it? You think, surely to God, that money should go down to smaller venues for me. Because we're going to need it, I think, when things pick up again, probably next year. So, well,
well, it seems to be a repetition there in trends, because we had the Tory government saying that they were backing the arts by funneling all of these grants and all this money into music venues, and you look at the venues that are getting the most support, and it's your Palace Theatres and your O2 Arenas and all of these large corporation venues and privately owned venues that don't need the help. Like you say, I worry for the smaller independents, and as I was saying earlier, the Calder Valley's full of them. And I know a lot of people that own independent venues that are really quite worried for the future of what their livelihood has become. So in that sense, it's really bleak.
We just have to live in hope at the moment, basically. I mean, that's all.
Absolutely,
yeah. So obviously, tell a bit more people about your EP then. So, have you got a title for the EP yet? Then, do you know what tracks are on it?
It's a working title of the coronavirus EP or something wittier to that extent. So I think there's going to be five songs, all being well, which are all the ones that I see decent enough to be recorded. It'll essentially follow various things that I felt angry enough to write a song about throughout the course of coronavirus. So I'm sure I might play a couple off the new EP later on. So I'm in the process of recording that. So I've got one for Rishi Sunak, one funnily enough for Gary Barlow. That's one controversially for Madeleine McCann, which was something that I found really quite infuriating over the lockdown, was the right-wing press and the Murdoch press suddenly dragged up the Madeleine McCann case, and for about 3 weeks it was on the front page of every tabloid newspaper. Coincidentally, this was the time in which we just found out that the government had lied dramatically about the amount of PPE going into the NHS. This is also at the time where in America and travelling overseas to the UK, there's some of the biggest race-related protests and race riots, I'd say, in living history. And instead of covering that, they dragged up the Madeleine McCann case, and it was sold as brand new revelations in the McCann case. Read all about it, and you read these articles, and the conclusion that they come to is, well, we think Madeleine McCann is dead, but also she might not be, which is the same old shit we knew a decade ago about the case. This isn't a new revelation. This is capitalizing on the abduction of children to cover up anti-capitalist protests and the failing of the government. It really, so it's not to say it's a song for Madeleine McCann, but rather how she's been used by the Murdoch press. And so it's a song beneficial to Kate and Jerry as well, because their daughter's death has been used as a political point scoring mechanism to cover up the atrocities that should be being covered by such mainstream outlets and news sources. So yeah, various things like that, various ranty niggles of mine that have been put to music. And
I'd expect little else off you, mate, after the time I've seen you before, definitely. So now, is there anything else you've got, any other plans going forward you want to reveal to people yet, or?
I do indeed. Yes. So Attila the Stockbroker, who I mentioned before, he's been incredibly helpful and useful and supportive to me throughout my career in the time that I've known him. So I've done a number of support gigs with him, and he's running as part of a lockdown project to keep him occupied and busy. He's got a Facebook group called Attila the Stockbroker Introduces, in which he handpicks some of his favorite acts and favorite artists from across the globe, and allows them to do a half-an-hour live stream from his page to give them publicity. And so on the second Tuesday in November, and you'll have to forgive me because I can't remember the date, but the second Tuesday of November, I'll be streaming from Attila the Stockbroker Introduces, which is a thing on Facebook, which is incredibly exciting for me. Obviously, I've got Speakeasy coming up before that. I've got a short set of Speakeasy, and then after that, it's just coming, taking them as they come. Really, and hopefully before Christmas or by Christmas I'll have this EP out, so you can find all of that via my page. I'll do some shameless self-promotion.
Go for it, that's what I'm there for, mate.
Brilliant, beautiful. Yeah, so it's on Instagram, it'll be Isaac.Hughes.Dennis. Facebook, it'll be Isaac Hughes-Dennis Music or Trickstar Entertainment. YouTube is Isaac Hughes-Dennis, so some variation of Isaac Hughes-Dennis, and you should be able to find what I do. So yeah, a couple of things coming up. Towards the end of the year.
Perfect. You've pretty well answered the last question there, Isaac, actually. So what we'll do, mate, is I know you're going to do a couple of pieces for us next. So what we'll do is we'll let you get yourself prepared, and believe me, everyone, this young man is exceptional. So hang around, okay? Thank you again, Isaac. We should see you all part two. See you in a minute. Spoken, mate. Hi, guys. Okay, straight over to Isaac. Looking forward to this. Go for it, mate.
Oh, right. Exciting. Right, so I've got three pieces. The first one, quite exciting because it's a request piece. It's always nice to be validated in such a way. This first tune is a lockdown tune. It's a coronavirus tune. And it's I suppose it's a bit of advice as to what to do if you're bored during the lockdown period. It's called Cough on a Tory. You've been in isolation for a week or more, and you've started to have a dry cough. You've started to worry that the end is nigh, and you're wanting a fitting send-off. The hospitals are closed and there are no more masks, and there's no paper left to wipe your arse. But if you take my advice and you follow my words, you can still make this a better world. If you just cough on a Tory, they got us into this mess. Cough on a Tory on behalf of the NHS. Take your daily jog down to your nearest mansion, find Rupert Murdoch or Richard Branson. Cough on a Tory, make this the plague of the underworked and the overpaid. Yes, just cough on a Tory, it's such an easy thing to do. But cough on a Tory if you've got any sign of the flu. They're all old and vulnerable, and when they get ill, won't they sure be grateful for that 35 mil in the NHS that we got from Brexit. Thanks to that, no one ever gets sick. Yes, Boris Johnson's a corona cunt. Next, let's get Priti Patel and Jeremy Hunt. Let's make the end of the quarantine a working class revival. Hashtag cough on a Tory. Let's make it go viral. Yeah, well, that was coughing a Tory for you.
Brilliant. I wanted you to ask how well that must have been going down, actually.
That's got a fair amount of a little bit of hate, which is always good. You know, you in the sort of stuff that I do, you know, you're writing good songs when you're getting hate.
I think if you're from American wrestling, there's an American wrestler manager called Eric Bischoff. He did a book once called "Controversy Creates Cash."
There you are.
See,
there you are.
Point raised, right? That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, on to number 2, mate.
Lovely, wicked. So yeah, speaking of a little bit of hate, a little bit of controversy, this one recently went absurdly viral the other month. Again, aided by my friend Attila the Stockbroker, who shared it onto his page, and it sort of blew up. He's quite annoyed at me because it got more views than he's ever got on his page, and that was aided by him. So
fantastic.
Apologies, Attila. So this is a response to Rishi Sunak going on ITV and suggesting that people in the creative industries should consider retraining because there's effectively not going to be the financial support for the arts after the corona period ends, and so I felt it was sort of my civic duty as a songwriter to write a protest song. But I also thought, if I'm not going to get paid for this because all of my funds have gone down the drain, then what's the point? Because at the very core of it, I'm a heartless capitalist, and I'm only in this for the money. What you're about to hear is the most half-assed protest song ever, and it's called "Song for Rishi Sunak." Rishi Sunak, what a shame that nothing insulting rhymes with your name, because I've written you this half-assed song. It won't be very witty and it won't be very long, and it might be pretty shitty, but it won't be very funny, because I only give a shit when it's earning me money, because I'm a bit like John Lennon and a bit like Bob Dylan in that I only get political when it makes me a shilling. But other than this, I don't have any transferable skills. Like, honestly, mate, I can't even play guitar, and evidently I can't even rhyme. I just talk a lot of shit all of the time, and I like to go on rambles, talk a lot to bollocks, and I'm really good at making a big fuss over nothing. I use fancy words and I sound like a twat, and in the public eye I'm a laughing stock. So with my current CV, are there any available positions? Because at the moment I'm sounding like a Tory politician. Oh, Rishi, please choose me. I've got a grade C maths in GCSE, and I've got 1 in English, so I know how to spell. I've got 1 in IT for Microsoft Excel. What a shock to the ego, and an utter disservice to have a Tory MP to call my job worthless. What absolute hypocrisy. It's fucking bleak. It's like having Shane McGowan telling you to brush your teeth. Without culture and the arts, you silly twat, we'd only have Coldplay, and take that, and no one wants that for their life soundtrack. So remember what a prat he is, Rishi Sunak. There you are, that's a Rishi Sunak song.
I think you should put that onto a disc and send it to him in the post.
Well, it's a small world, and it got something stupid like 8,000 views or something like that, a couple of thousand shares. So I'm hoping that by some sort of stroke of luck, it's made its way to him. But we can but hope.
Well, if the SAS come for your window in a minute, get running.
Absolutely, yeah, there you are.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, I know what your big finale is going to be, so I'll let you introduce it, mate, for everybody.
Okay, right, wicked. So I think I'll finish with this one, and somewhat surprisingly, it's a religious song, and so it's starting to get colder. We've only got a couple months till Christmas, so I reckon it's only fitting that I tell you it's about Jesus, and about a very specific time in Jesus's life. I feel like is criminally underreported on, because we all know the story of baby Jesus and the 3 wise men, and then suddenly they sort of miss a bit, and then suddenly he's an adult and he's on the cross, and then he dies, and as a ranting radical lefty teenager, I sort of want equal representation in all areas. And so some people might see the next song as what we might say is religiously intolerant, but the way I see it is I'm taking it upon myself on behalf of Christians everywhere to write sort of some alternate Bible verses via the medium of song for an adolescent Messiah. And so this one's called Teenage Jesus, and it's to the tune of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, and I think he'd be rolling in his grave, but I take somewhat comfort in the fact that I reckon Jeff Buckley might get a kick out of it. So
cool. Go for it, man.
Okay. It's got a sing-along chorus as well if you want to at home to emulate that live gig feeling.
I'm not doing it because I can't sing.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Neither can most of the munters at my gig, but I feel like you're significantly less pissed than most of them. So we'll try it anyway. Well, if you'll settle down, let me paint you the scene. We're on a street corner and the year's 17, and adolescent Jesus wears ripped skinny jeans. His mates Abe and Moses own cannabis farms and some cheap ketamine that they stole from their barns. This is what they left out of the Bible. Teenage Jesus. This is the chorus. Teenage Jesus. Teenage Jesus. Teenage Jesus. Well, behind the bike sheds, he'll have a quick smoke, and then he'll turn water into vodka and Coke. Oh, woe is him, the moody emo Jesus. He's got shoulder-length hair, and there's black round his eyes, and if he listens to grunge, it'd be no surprise, for this is the ballad of emo Jesus. Emo Jesus. Emo Jesus. Emo Jesus. Emo Jesus. He was an attention seeker. He was in the in crowd of his 12 whole followers. He was quite proud, 12 followers, that is, on his Twitter. And they all formed a band and they rehearsed in his inn. They were called Christ and the Christy Inns. I need to work. This was the start of Rock God Jesus. 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 Well, I appreciate we might have taken this a bit far, but behind the song there most definitely are some moral values to take with you. Like, don't discriminate someone who's different from you, because Jesus was an immigrant Palestinian Jew, and he was most definitely an emo. So for emo Jesus, emo Jesus, emo Jesus, he will be with you.
Superb. Brilliant. Considering I've been a massive fan of Jeff Buckley and Hallelujah for years.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I thought he would have probably turned in his grave as well on that one, probably.
Yeah, I would imagine he would have done. Yeah.
Brilliant, mate. Now, great way of finishing that, Isaac. Been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you ever so much. No, I
It's
very
real
much appreciate that.
Hang around. I need a quick word off mic. Well, thank you again.
Wicked.
It's been an excellent session. I've really enjoyed this.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Stay safe, guys and girls. See you all soon. Spoken, mate.